Hi, it's Grant, and today I had the honor of being the guest speaker for a college class at University of Louisiana. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
All right, Kanice 370. Once again, we're here for class this week, and my guest, Grant Navarre. Now, Grant is, if I had to summarize him, and I don't have enough time, but he is like the most interesting man that in millennial world. This dude has done so much at such a young age. He's got his hands in a lot of different stuff. And one thing that I'm not speaking for him, I'm just my opinion, is all the different things he's involved in, it's because of passion, and he just really loves it. And you can see that in all the different things he does. Grant has background in business with the automotive department. He has his own venture, properties management. He owns franchises in the juice world. And the thing we're going to touch upon at the end is his philanthropy. It's October. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and every year Grant raises money for breast cancer awareness, and he's very successful doing it. So, Grant, I want to welcome you to class. And how you doing today?
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
One thing really that I've been dying to ask you on a professional level is, when I was young, my father used to give advice. You know, your father gave you advice, and he would say, Brian, do what you love to do for a living. Doesn't matter the pay, but do what you love to do. And then my wife's brother-in-law said, no. Do what's going to provide for your family. Does a dream job exist where it's so rare because providing for your family ultimately happens to be something that you really love to do? So what's that duality to you about doing what you love versus doing what's going to support your family in the means that you would like to?
You're going to find I'm more opinionated than you've ever known about things like this.
No, good. Bring it.
But the first thing with that, my father actually gave me advice like this pretty often. And he said, Grant, my absolute dream would be to be a coach. He always wanted to be a coach. He would love to be a coach. He didn't care if it was middle school, high school, college. If there was a way for him to acquire that as a position, he would have absolutely done it. He just would say, but I can't live off of 40 a year. And so he went and he became what he became, and then he gave back his coaching. He would bring kids all across the country, and then he also has a couple national championships, which I'm a part of one of them for him. So yeah, we did well. In Lake Charles, Louisiana, we own Navarre Auto Group. It's actually my father built it. It's first generation for him. I've been there 17 years now. My oldest brother's been there 30. Ryan's been there a while. He's almost 50, so he's been there. He's been there over 33 years because we start pretty young. And it is actually when he passed, which we miss him dearly. When he passed, we had 4 stores, and now we have 11. So we've done quite a bit with him. I think he'd be pretty proud with what we do. And
was that your first experience in work? Like your dad, hey, get in there. And what was that your first? And how old were you when you first started kind of being a laborer?
Well, when they put me on payroll, I was 12, and yeah, you clean up the lot, you do some stuff. I wrecked a golf cart once, so I wasn't allowed to play with those anymore. But long story short, he wanted you to have business empathy, and that's a word that I've coined off of how he's made it. But basically, if I go ask a porter, which is the person that goes and runs our errand to go put the fuel in the vehicle or wash the car, if I ask a porter to do it, I know what it takes to do that job because I did it for years.
Outstanding.
In the event that I know how to change oil, in the event that I ask somebody to do something, I know what I'm asking of that individual, and that goes all the way up until actually running the companies and doing what we've done.
And in terms of management, like if you're going to oversee and you're going to give me a number of how many employees that Navarre employs, you kind of have to know. Like it's almost like if you're a head coach, you not only have to know your players, you got to know the athletic training staff, you got to know the strength and conditioning staff, you have to know the secretaries, you have to know the PR people, the sports information. Like there's so many management things you have to do.
A whole lot more than just calling plays. Yep. Not only have we done a lot of cool stuff with Navarre, but I also have the Main Squeezes, my juice bars, right? And so when I go to Main Squeeze and we do a grand opening, I'm shaking hands in the front, I'm picking up packages, I'm breaking down boxes. I don't just throw the box in there because they're like, oh, if he just does it, I'll do that. I pick up trash not because I'm the owner, but I'm the owner because I pick up trash, right? I like that mentality. And then all the staff always goes, hey, you know, Mr. Grant, if you're willing to make smoothies with us, you're all right in my book. And then like
There you
I'll
go.
even challenge them to be better. Like we have juice knowledge competitions where I'll keep like $100 in my pocket and I'll be like, hey, who wants to go for a juice knowledge? If you beat me, I'll give you $20. And they don't have to beat me, they just have to impress me, right? And so we'll go to the juice fridge and they'll pick up something from me. And a lot of the times I pick up something from them and we grow
Wow.
because they're doing it in the day to day. But at the same time, you got to know your craft, just like you were saying, as far as the coach.
My first job was at Subway. I was a sandwich artist, and I was so terrified to do anything that I wasn't instructed to do because I didn't want to make a mistake. I didn't want to get
Sure.
in trouble. I was terrified to make decisions when I had to make decisions. What is your philosophy on workers screwing up, making a mistake?
So I like to think of things to always towards personal growth. And if you're afraid to make a mistake or afraid to ask someone about mistakes, then you'll never grow. And in growth, our biggest growth in life comes from learning experiences. Now, if you make that same mistake over and over again, you're either lazy and you know what you're doing and you just, consciously incompetent or consciously competent that you don't want to do it, or you're practicing the definition of insanity. Like you just keep
Yeah,
trying to do the same thing and expect a
yeah.
different result. But the way I like to do is once again that business empathy. If you teach me 100 mistakes at Subway and I learn 100 mistakes, me and you have 200 mistakes that we only had to make 100 each.
Mm,
And I truly like to watch and observe and absorb without being the quiet person in the corner. I have ADD to an extent, but I've used it as
hmm.
almost a superpower to where like I could be doing
Absolutely.
something and paying attention to what's going on over there. My assistant to this day is just like, I don't know how you can remember all this stuff. I'm like, I have to. So
My channel is for class, and I have like maybe 54 followers, and I've had like maybe like 1,000 students. And how many followers do you have? It was like in the hundreds of thousands.
well, it's 113,000.
130. Still, dude,
Yeah.
that's huge. You start the YouTube, and I want to try to make my question elegant, but I know you love to do it. I know it's passionate, but was it a way to get this third entanglement with your ventures, with your juices, with your other passions? Or was it just something totally, you know what, I got an itch, I want to scratch it and I'm good at it, and this is just something I do for passion?
Yeah, I wish it was as elegant of an answer as that. Basically, I've always thought I was good at talking to people. It's what I've done for a living, and what I'm really good at is marketing our stores, marketing what I do, and as a salesperson, I would make giveaways and do things, and what I had built got so big that my brother was like, "Hey, look, can we not do this anymore? They're coming in and asking for your individual brand versus the actual store itself," and that's a
Yeah.
true story. I'll tell you, I built a duplex when I was 19 because I moved out of mom's house. She said I couldn't have girls in my room, so that started having to learn how to be good with money. I was like, okay, I'm making 70. Oh man, well, I should have stayed at the free house, but whatever. So long story short, built my first duplex after bought my first property. Lived in one side, rented the other side. But long story short, with that, I just kind of always thought, man, if I'd have just made a YouTube video about this, or if I made a video about this, people would have liked it. And then one day I stumbled across Graham Stephan, and we became friends. And so I made a channel in 2020, and first 1,000 subscribers was tough. Talking about time, commitment and effort. That YouTube will challenge you on all of that because you do a whole lot of work without a whole lot of success for a long time, and eventually it just kind of pops off. But yeah, I did it because I've always had a yearning to do that, and then now here we are 3 years later. So
This is what I learned with the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, that raising money for cancer awareness or cancer research helps all cancers, because when
absolutely,
you
yeah.
make breakthroughs in terms of treatment, what has been your, like, in terms of the campaigns that you put together? What is your growth? One thing I've said to the students in the past is there's no perfect, but you could strive for optimal. You could strive to improve. You could strive to make it. Based on the 25-year-old Grant that started it, where has the biggest leaps of being optimal with your campaigns and raising so much money for breast cancer awareness? And
Tell you, my buddy who brought me into it. I'm 25 years old. Okay, not much older than you guys are now. And I'm sitting in this room, and the mayors are in here, and the chief of police is in here for 3 different departments, and there's a congressman. I'm like, why am I here? Like, I'm a sales manager and I do well, but like, why'd they call me? And long story short, my buddy, the day one was like, I've already raised like $3,500, and I was like, oh, that's a lot of money. Okay, I still got a job, I got stuff, I got things to do. So I raised $2,600, and then KPLC, our local TV show, says, "Hey, you're gonna be on KPLC. Watch it." I go on there and I was third. I was like, "Oh, I was third with $2,600. Cool." I was like, "Where's Trevor's name? He must have freaking lied." And so I call him. He's like, "Oh man, some things fell through." I'm like, "You know what? I'd have worked harder if you wouldn't have just big league me." And he
Yeah.
was like, "Oh man, And the next year, we raised $10,000, which was cool. The next year, we raised $28,500. The year after that, $75,000, and it just kept growing and growing and growing. And then that just kind of goes into the three things I talk about: time, effort, and commitment. If I give up, what would have been done with the dollars we do? And then now this year we were at 120. So if I hit 150 in the last 8 years, we have raised $500,000 for breast cancer, which is a pretty big deal.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Exponential growth in success, does that make the job easier or harder?
The more that we grow, the more employees we need, the more things that we do, the more payroll that it drives, the more you have to versus want to just do well, right? So, like for instance, the real estate company. Like right now, we have a few units that are unrented. Well, my assistant sees that as like, oh, okay, not a big deal. But as me, I see $8,000 a month. I created a report to where now he can see that, okay, oh, well, I'm costing the company $8,000 a month by not posting and doing these little details that Grant keeps pushing on me for. The more that we grow, the more that I have to perform at a better level every day.
You got to step up. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, when it comes down to it, it's all about what do you want. There's really no reason for me to keep pushing, but I like
Yeah.
personal excellence.
To you, what is the purpose of a resume? Because you can't tell a personality on a resume. Does it even mean anything to you? And if it does, what are some common do's and don'ts in your opinion about a resume to get your foot in the door so that you could show that personality?
Yeah, so think of resumes like Instagram, right? You need to show off a little bit to get that person to click on your profile and to go follow you. I can't stand doing that kind of stuff, but let's talk about on the more quality of human versus like look how pretty or look how cool my car is, right? So what I'm saying is on a resume, if it says cashier for 12 years, it's very hard for me to call that person. I might send a follow up email and say, "Tell me what something you've done." But you got to realize on another standpoint, like we get about 1,500 resumes per month, right? And at least, and that's if we're not pushing very hard. So 1,500 resumes per month, you don't like that takes up a lot of time to go through them. I need to find something on there, some kind of level of education, some kind of level of management, some kind of level of sales experience. And even if it's Lowe's, like you got to realize there's people at Lowe's that make $60,000 a year selling flooring, right? So I'm just looking for that reason to extend the hand and call. But I'll tell you this, uh, as a manager for now 10 years and has been in the car business for 16. Well, manager for 12. I'm getting old. I'm 33 now, right? But what ends up happening is a lot of people don't show. I'll tell you about 40% will not show for that interview, and I give them one extra shot just in case they're a
Wow.
superstar, and then they'll give me a million excuses, and they still don't show again. So I really need this job, and then nope.
Sometimes you have to do what needs to be done,
Yeah,
whether that's to re-energize firing, or is that something that all future businessmen and women out there, just whether you're comfortable with it or not, that you just have to realize is just part of the game and it's nothing personal. But to be successful in business, it has to stay about,
yeah.
you know, the
So
business.
I'll tell a story with this one. So the reason my stuff does well is because I'm pretty real. So here we go. I struggle with this point pretty bad because I'm not necessarily soft, but I got a big freaking heart, and it annoys the heck out of me. A couple years back, I really enjoy this individual, but they became quote unquote a cancer at the store. Okay, and so if you let that cancer stay, the cancer will spread and it will affect the body, and then it's permanent. Okay. Long story short, he was my best employee for the first year I hired him. Okay. Uh, Almost like an assistant manager, and we don't have those in the car business, but he was just like helping me rally the troops and this and this and this and that. Well, then two management positions within 6 months come available and he didn't get it. And he got bitter. And I'm like, hey, don't worry about that. Like you're in the talks. That's a good thing. Long story short, After a year, one more position came, and he's like, I'm just never going to get it. And then he turned completely sour. Like, when I tell you, it wasn't like a transition, it was just terrible. Now, understand, this guy was making me money. He was my number one guy. And I had to make a choice. Do I go and try to shock him into reform? Do I let him go? Like, what do I do? So I went with that softer side, and I went down there and I found him, and I said, hey, I said, come with me. And came with me in my office, and I said, look, you need to straighten up, you need to be better, or I'm gonna have to let you go. And we talked about, I'd like to train, retrain, replace. Okay. And he agreed. He was like, man, I know you noticed. I'm sorry. And so then we went to our annual company trip to Cancun, right? He won, even though he wasn't doing as hot the year before. This next year, he did really well his first year. And we're in Cancun, and he's over-promising and under-delivering me all the whole trip. He's drinking and hugging on me and telling me the life's going to be better. He's going to change. And of course, I'm hopeful, but I know. We get back 1 month later. He is doing the same thing again. I bring him into my office, and I said, hey, look. Here's what's going to happen. I'm either firing you right now, or you can go home and you will leave this building. You can come back Monday in street clothes or work clothes, and I will have my answer. And I'd like us to part as friends if you come back in street clothes. He showed up Monday in street clothes. The scariest thing in the world right now is people not caring. So when I give millions of dollars away a year from the dealership and people don't care about it, it doesn't feel good as a business owner. When someone expects it from me, that is where I pull back and pull away. And I'll tell you, after being in business for 40 years as Navarre Auto Group, even though, of course, I wasn't there the whole time, people be like, well, you gave us $500 one year and you gave us 50 this year. Like, they don't.
Wow.
It's not. And then they'll drive up in a Toyota, which we do not sell. And then we try to ask them solid questions like, okay, well, did you get the Toyota from us? They're like, no, I got it from Toyota. I'm like, okay. Does anyone in the car that's asking for us money drive a Chevy or a GMC, a Nissan? No, we love Toyota. Well, did Toyota give you any money? No, they don't do things like this. So they don't understand that if I'm going to do business with you, you have to do business with me.
All right, Grant. Thank you so much for your time, brother.
All right, see you later. Thank you.
We'll talk to you later.
Have a good day. So wow, there you have it. What an awesome experience that was. This is not the first time I've actually been asked to do this. Not sure where the Australian or whatever that was came out, but it's not the first time I've been asked to do this. I very much appreciate him having me on. I've done it at our local college in McNeese, but this is the first time for University of Louisiana. And I just really appreciate that he thought that much of me. So, hope you guys have a fantastic afternoon. I hope I see you on the next one, and bye. I believe in you.